When making them beats again.
Trenches. Come get some work on your free time. Nico Trenches, we train O-line and D-line. Getting sacks on quarterbacks, you know we live. When you kick at 45, keep your nose on his inside. You better punch something, keep your feet moving, dog. My 3 tech and 1 tech, they some real hoes. My DN 6'5", he ain't got no flaws. Good grades, good feet, man, he got it all. I said it crazy, he'll snatch something. Real aggressive jump, said he tryna grab something. If the old don't shoot their hands, you better jab some. You better stab some, bull then snatch some. From the youth to the pros, we get it in. If you ain't watching film, you ain't trying to win. If he close the beat gap, then you gotta spin. If you get around the edge, then you gotta bend. I'm in the trenches with a lineman at. I'm in the trenches with a lineman at.
Good evening, everybody. We are back, episode 56, Bushleague Sports. As always, I am your host, TKB. I'll be joined by my beautiful co-host, Sleep. We'll be getting into everything. UFC Fight Night, Emmett versus Murphy. Did it go the way we wanted? No, but we're going to get into it because I don't really think the outcome was what it should have been. I was kind of bored by some of what came out from Murphy in that fight while Emmett was being the full aggressor, but we'll deep dive into that. Ovi breaks the record today against fellow Russian Ilya Sorokin, the greatest goal scorer of all time, officially. Alex Ovechkin, the grade 8. We're going to get all into that, go through everything that brought him to this spot in his great career and everything that went on in the moment today. We'll get you up to date with that. Might be the most breaking news we ever give on Bushleague Sports. We're always like back, way behind, whatever. We're dialed in and on top of it. That happened today. We're going to give it to you today, baby. And then from there, we'll be doing a UFC break live on Whatnot. So if you're in Whatnot right now, spots are going to be going live here in a minute to auction. Random spots, 9. We're going to be chasing Josh Emmett cards. If you get an Emmett, we're going to give you a free pack. Pull an Emmett auto. We'll send you a whole free box after today's show. And then Oilmens Curling this weekend. West Central Saskatchewan Oilmens Association put on the 62nd annual curling bonspiel. I haven't curled since about 99, so I'm going to get into how that went with me and the boys. Maybe not some of the best shots out there, but without a question, the best beaks. So that's worth noting. And it's going to be a good one. So we'll get into it tonight. We'll play the old intro as always, and we'll see you in a minute, you beauties. Chat then.
Say, man, you're in a privileged position right now. You're in a place to be. Matter of fact, the place that you with the one and only SNOOP. So what you gonna do now? Turn that shit up.
When making them beats again.
Trenches. Come get some work on your free time. Nico Trenches, we train O-line and D-line. Getting sacks on quarterbacks, you know we live. When you kick at 45, keep your nose on his inside. You better punch something, keep your feet moving, dog. My 3 tech and 1 tech, they some real hoes. My DN 6'5", he ain't got no flaws.
That's a Bushleague question.
Man, he got it all.
I understand.
California, so it'd be cool for you to put up your family to come back to Canada.
I always fuck all my American buddies. You guys never get up.
To the pro.
My hometown. What do you
Just way back home.
You gotta spin. That's you get around the edge and you gotta bend. I'm in the trenches with a lineman at. I'm in the trenches with a lineman at.
When making them beats
I'm in the trenches with a lineman at. With a lineman at. With a lineman at. D tackle be your dance.
Good evening, buddy. What's going on? How are you tonight, brother?
Dude, man, I love the intro. I know you said we're going to play it again, but every time, man, it's so much fun to watch. I always find new little hidden gems in there each and every time, man. But stoked to be here. Happy Sunday. As you said, a historic day in National Hockey League history with the grade 8, surpassing the great one, most goals ever in the league. So rad to see, man. I'm stoked. I'm fired up tonight.
One that obviously been cool too to see Wayne been nothing but an absolute class act the entire time, just like Gordy was for him back when he was breaking his record, and just been cool to see the whole thing. And I know we're going to kind of deep dive into that tonight, and just kind of bring our thoughts on it. I was also curling this past weekend. I know for both of us, like, I'm not going to say I'll sit here and probably act like I'm some vet curler now that I got 4 games under the belt, but I haven't curled since I think like high school, maybe the end of elementary school. So like 99, maybe early 2000s, last time I stepped on the ice. So we figured it out on the fly. We did all right. Could have done a lot better, but it was really fun. And the Oilmens put on a great event through the weekend, and all the companies that come together to put it on and stuff. It's pretty cool. So we'll deep dive into that as well tonight.
Dude, I can't wait because I have always thought of curling as Canada's sport. However, I just looked it up before this show. Curling came from Scotland. I thought that was pretty wild. I feel
hockey's
like
our sport. I don't know if you remember, like we beat you guys not that long ago in this formation.
Dude, so I'm wearing a US soccer shirt right now. Canada beat the US in soccer the other week as well. I don't know what's going on in the US. Good thing we're not playing American football because you guys would get
you guys are done. You guys are done as soon as we start charging tariffs on Canadian players coming down to play down there. It's over for you guys because all the talent is laying north of the border.
But I wanted to give you we got winter back in Texas. I don't know what the weather is happening up there. It's cold. It was snowing in the panhandle of Texas earlier this week into this weekend here. My son had a baseball game and it was freezing. I say freezing. It was like 40, 45, something like that. So, slightly above zero on the Celsius scale. But too cold for us, especially too cold for us into April. Won the game. The kids won the game. 10 rundum was cool to see. Good to see the kids get a win, but I was freezing nonetheless.
Love it. No, it's weird. I won't get too deep into the weather stuff, but like they claim climate change. There is climate change, but it's not that we're magically making winter. Like it seems like honestly stuff's just shifted a little bit. Everything's still the same somewhere. You guys are getting more snow. We're getting a little less, even though it's still kind of winter here. But this time of year, it's the last decade or so. It's still been kind of snowy, but the sun's up. It's over the horizon when it's supposed to be, and the weather gets warm when it's supposed to. It just seems like it's snowing in different places further south, and the weather's a little bit transforming, but we won't deep dive into.
Sure. All I'll say about it is that, the weather has been changing always, right? Since forever, since the earth has been here, the weather's constantly changing. So do humans have an effect on their environment? Yes, 100%. What it means for the weather, you and I don't know. You and I can't pretend to speak knowledgeable about it. But what we can pretend to speak knowledgeable about is sports, and it's been a fun week.
Well, I don't even know if we can do that, but
I said pretend to speak knowledgeable. Pretend. We can pretend all day long.
When it comes to weather stuff, though, I don't think us humans are doing a whole lot. I think that the Earth's doing it. What it's happening through the galaxy is happening, and they're just scaring everybody to be able to tax them. But nonetheless, how much tax we're going to be taxing Ovi for breaking the Canadian record? That's what I mean. We're going to have to be tariffing these guys. They're going to come around breaking records like that. But 895 scores it on Elias Sorokin, which is crazy. He scored, I can't remember what the stat is. I think it's 182 different goalies he scored on over his NHL career. That's a first goal against his fellow countryman, Elias Sorokin. So that's pretty cool for sure.
Yeah, I thought that was an awesome stat. So leading up to even before this game, for the last few weeks, they've been talking about it. So there have been, I believe, 29 goalies where Ovi has recorded a shot against them that he hasn't scored a goal on that goalie. So he's at least recorded a shot on 29 goalies and hadn't scored. And Sorokin was one of them up until about 6 hours ago. And that's just a wild stat. Sorokin and Ovi both in the Met. Sorokin's been in the league since I think 2021, 2022. He's been, the man in charge of the Islanders net for 7
years. Has it only been that long? I thought he's been in the league longer than a couple of years.
No, I don't think. Hold on, I have his rookie card somewhere behind me. I can take a peek and see, but it hasn't been that long. I think maybe 5 years.
Gotcha. Yeah, I just feel like he's been around for a bit. He's been on a team or two, but maybe I'm incorrect. But coming up to it too, so obviously he's been on a bit of a heater. That's now 4 or 5 games in a row that Ovi scored to make the record happen, and we'll get into the last game in a second. But did you find the card?
I did. It's 2020, 2021.
Okay. Yeah, I would have thought like 2018. So you're more dialed in than me. Nice.
So yeah, no, I agree with you. And, fortunately, I was at the aquarium with my family today, so I didn't get to watch the goal live today. However, I did get to see the game against Chicago in Washington, where he put up those 2 goals, and that was just so special, man. So special to tie Gretzky's record at home in Washington in front of his home crowd that he's been there for 20 years doing the damn thing. Just such a cool experience, a cool thing to see. Gretzky was set to follow him through these last several games, and that was Gretzky's first game that he was with Ovi and with the team following him, and for Ovi to hit 2 goals there and tie the record was definitely something special.
Yeah, for sure. And we noticed he didn't really come out on the ice for the empty netter to get it. He didn't want to get the record that way, right, with the empty net. A part of me, though, is like, so he's already got the most empty netters in NHL history, as far as I recall, right? Like, he's already got that stat line. And so, like, I personally think that, yeah, okay, like, I love that respect for the game, 100%. But on a hat trick, I would have been okay with it. I personally would have been okay with it on a hat trick. And you also, as a goalie, I mean, I guess it's cool that Sorokin's stoked, but I almost do not want to be the goalie.
None of those.
Well, actually, it depends, because like now you're part of history forever, though, too, right? So you're always in this conversation. So there is like this upside to it, right? Being the person who was the guy that scored on, now you're always a part of history. So there's, I guess, could be a selfish aspect to that too. But I think it would have been crazy to do it on the exact same game as him via hat trick. Would have been wild, but at the same time, by not doing it that way, they end up at, what was it? They tied at the exact same amount of games.
No, he tied. I'm sorry, not to correct you. He tied him 1 game earlier, and then he beat him on the same exact amount of games. So today was the same amount of games as Gretzky scored his the record when he had broke it. Or not when he had broke it. His last goal was this amount of games. I don't know what it was.
Well, I guess that's why we're Bushleague Sports. It's 859 is the games I thought it was, but it's 849 is what Gretzky had, right? 849 goals in however many games. I don't remember the games now. I should know that. I don't know why. We should look that up instantly.
No worries.
I'll find that stat because we need.
While you're looking it up, I do want to go back to the hat trick, the maybe an empty net goal. But let's talk Sorokin a little bit more, because something happened after the game that was kind of interesting. Ovi had asked Sorokin for his stick, the goalie stick that Sorokin was using at the time, and Sorokin gave it to him. Took a lot of pictures with him and the puck. I do believe it's because they're both Russian. It's not like Sorokin had given him up a bunch of goals. So I think that's pretty dope, and it's cool for Sorokin to take it with such class. I imagine any goalie in the league would do that. However, you're right. None of the goalies in the league wanted to be that one to give up that goal.
Well, and like, so what do you think that stick is worth of the goalie that he scored on for the game winning goal, right? Because like that puck, I mean, that puck has to almost be one of the most valuable pieces of hockey history now. Point, right? So then what value is on the goalie's equipment, or what value is on that stick? I mean, is it $1 million stick that he just gave over, or what? I don't think the goalie's stuff would be worth that much, right? It's more part of the moment. It would be like Ovi's stick that would be crazy, but I still wonder what the value would be. So it's a cool little gesture for him to have that from the guy he scored it on.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's a great gesture, and none of these things are hitting the market, in my opinion. Ovi has been collecting sticks. I don't know if you saw, when they paused the game mid-game today for a little Ovi ceremony, Ovi took his jersey off and put a new fresh jersey on, because that jersey, is going away as well. So it's all really interesting. I think that, the NHL is going to have some of these pieces for the Hockey Hall of Fame, and Ovi's going to have the rest for his own personal collection. I'm fairly confident.
So I know they said that, so during the chase, and I guess now that it's over, I don't know how it works. It ended pretty fast, right? But that he was going to be wearing a different jersey every period for memorabilia purposes, right? So I would personally hope that the jersey he wore while scoring the goal either is the Hockey Hall of Fame or the OV on his thing. Like one of the exact jersey plus one of the other ones from this game have to be like in those two hands, right? Hockey Hall of Fame, OV. And I would think it's deservedly OV's until he passes it to the Hockey Hall of Fame one day. That would be how I think it should go for that jersey. But the thing with that too is, so doing it for memorabilia purposes, like as much as I love cards and collecting, and anyone, if you're in here, if you're in the whatnot, we're doing our UFC break right away. So if you see the boxes on the screen, grab a spot, $29. We're chasing an auto. Get it, pull an Emmett card or an Emmett auto. We got some free prizes coming. But as much as I love Topps cards, they better not be chopping up that jersey to put it in some patch cards. That's all I know. That one's got to go to the Hockey Hall of Fame.
100%, man. 100%. I guarantee you they do get their hands on some of them from this run. That's just what they do at Topps. And, I'm not mad at it. That's for sure.
I guess it's more would be Upper Deck for hockey as opposed to
Topps. Yeah.
Is the licensee. But nonetheless, they better not be scissoring up the jersey that broke the record. It better be a different one, right? Because the more and more I get into collecting cards, right, a lot of the stuff that's in these, the especially retail stuff, it's not even game worn. It's like I don't even know where they got the jersey. They just grab a random piece of fabric, throw it in, right? And then some of the stuff is obviously from. You got to look though too, game worn, or is it just worn, right? Because they'll have stuff where they literally just give the player, they put it on, they take it off. Now they can say they wore it, right? And it's an authentic worn. But to me, and to I think collectors, that's not really that valuable. I do not care if some man or woman put on a shirt, took it off. If they played a game in it, it also really doesn't matter that much, but it does way more, right?
Sure. I agree. Hey, dude, I wanted to get your take on today. So the game 2 nights ago against Chicago, they stopped the game for a short time to give OV, a round of applause. Everybody, left the bench, gave him high fives, showed him love, everything like that. Today in New York, I mean, they stopped the game for a long period of time and did a little ceremony. And I see you pulled it up right now. I thought that was kind of interesting. And what's your take on the full stoppage of the game for, I don't know if it was 30 minutes. Again, I didn't watch it live. I didn't see it till it was afterwards, to stop the game to do that.
Well, of course, I'm having a tech difficulty right as you ask, but
no worries.
I think that you see a lot of times when they're honoring players, usually it'll be something that maybe happens in between periods or like at a stoppage of play, right? When you're at the game, you get to see it. When you're watching on TV, they'll kind of play it back and show you after, like, hey, they honored this person at this stoppage or whatever. You see a lot of that for certain things, especially in different buildings. But I think some of these big, huge records that some of these guys like Crosby and Ovechkin are near, I mean, it kind of makes sense, right? Because, okay, he scores the goal. Now you play out the period, then they go hang out in the dressing room. Like it's 50-50 because you have it at the end. I don't think you get the exact same emotion as if you have it right then. And I think something like breaking Wayne Gretzky's record, something that, it's okay, the record set by Gordie Howe. Now it's only the second time in hockey history that record's broken. I think something that is that huge, it makes sense to do it. I mean, we've seen it, I think, in the NFL, did we not, when Tom Brady broke some records, kind of a break in the game. Kind of everybody stops, give him his honor, that they have their moment there. And I think with certain things that are that huge, yes. But otherwise, I think the league does it proper. They do it in between TV timeouts or things like that. It's an experience more for the fan in game, which is nice. People paying should get that experience a little better than the person watching it on television as well. And so I have nothing against it for this moment.
I agree.
And speaking of which, if I think we got the TV back up over there properly, I'm going to play a little clip from that moment. Thank you to NHL.com for it. We'll see. And I'll pause the audio once it gets rolling a little bit here. But see if I can. Of course, I can't see the play button. There it is.
Crisscrossing with Chychrun through center. Send in Wilson on the flank. Cross ice, Ovechkin fires. The chasing days are done! Alex Ovechkin is the greatest goal scorer in the history of the NHL!
And what a call. What a call.
So
the record
cool,
is broken. There's the man. Canadian legend. He should be running this country, honestly.
So cool, man. Is that Cash Patel up with him, just hanging out?
Yeah, I'll close the audio, but obviously Wayne, what a legend, a humble dude. Gary Bettman up there in the stands with him, and just cool to see that he finally gets to that point, being the greatest goal scorer in the history of the NHL. And controversies aside, I give a fuck if he's from Russia, man. We're all on this earth together, and there's a lot of good people, and not. I hate that we leave them out of the international games and things like that. They're not the only country causing war in the world, but nonetheless, it's just so cool to see him finally get it done. He has been one of, like you said, the best goal scorers in history. I seen a thing with Marty Biron and McClelland on one of the Canadian networks, their TSN, the other day, and they were talking about how playing against Ovi is just like, all you do is just try to be in a position. The shot is so fast, so crazy. There's really nothing you can do about it except just try to be in your best position and hope the puck hits you. And the guy is just so good at sniping corners and so powerful on his shot. It's deserved, right? Even with all the empty netters and stuff, that's by the time he keeps going, he plays another year or two, I'm sure he will surpass Gretzky even without any empty netters, which then Gretzky's will have empty netters involved. He's going to really extend this if he plays 1 or 2 more years, I think.
Yeah, I agree. And the fact that, he has a thing, right? He is on that left side, around the top of the circle, and that's where the majority of his goals come from. And like you said, goalies know it's no secret where Ovi's coming from 90% of the time, and yet he still continuously scores from that spot. Again, so cool to see. I love how this clip is still playing, just such a special moment. And
going over and thanking even the coaching staff, everybody, right? Making his rounds, thanking everybody on the team, everybody that helped him get there, everybody in the organization. Just a class act, right? And like you say, maybe a little much for in the middle of the game, but at the same time, you just don't want to give everybody their moment in that moment, right? Because it's history.
Did you see? I don't know if you saw, tickets were going for, nosebleeds were going for $1,500 a ticket for this game. Immediately when the Chicago game ended, it like, the tickets flipped on their head, and everybody was trying to get. I
never thought of that, but it makes a lot of sense. They would, because again, it's almost bigger than witnessing a Stanley Cup, unless of course it's your favorite team. I think witnessing your favorite team win a Stanley Cup is a pretty legendary moment, but you're not gonna get this moment ever again. And you got Wayne, you got everybody in the building, you're gonna have ceremonies, you're gonna have stuff like this, right? So it's an experience that you just get. It's a once in a lifetime NHL. Well, maybe it's a twice, because it's happened before for Wayno, but you're not getting this experience all that often in the NHL. So definitely some value to that.
Man, and just for it to happen in this moment, it's a special season. It's been a great year
for Sally too, eh?
Yeah, absolutely. So in the post-game locker room talk, Ovi's in there. Gretzky is congratulating Ovi, and then Gretzky leans over and says, I was talking to the owner or the GM, or so, I was talking to the owner of the Capitals, and I let him know when I beat Gordie Howe's record, they bought me a Rolls Royce. So I don't know, maybe Ovi, you can be expecting something like that. And Ovi's like, huh? Like, what's going on? And the owner came on and is like, well, we can't circumvent the cap, and we'll look into it. But it was really funny, man. It was a good moment.
Oh, Wayno putting them in a hot spot, eh?
Oh yeah, it was a great moment.
I love it. No, it's just cool. It's obviously a Canadian, Gretzky is like an idol that we grow up with, because the guy, he's just such a humble man, like, right? Mm-hmm. I honestly think that, every sport has their leader and who's, who they think is the greatest of all time. I think NFL is maybe the one where it's possibly indisputed, where it's Tom Brady. NBA, you're going to have the toss up between 3. NHL, same thing. There's a lot of good players, but I think it's kind of undisputed that Wayne is the great one of hockey, right? And I think hockey has one of the humblest and greatest leaders of a sport, of any sport. I think Wayne is you couldn't ask for a better person aside from maybe Tony Hawk and Wayne. And it's kind of funny. They kind of resemble as they get older, but I feel like hockey and skateboarding have like two of the greatest ambassadors for their sport. They're just the humblest dudes for how legendary they are.
I agree, man. I agree. And just for Wayne to kind of be a part of this and he could have sat off on his own and watched on his own and gave a couple takes on the record, but Wayne has been thoroughly involved in the grade 8 chase. So it just hats off to him, hats off to the NHL for doing it right. It's going to be has been a great season, and I'm really excited for the playoffs coming up. I know next week we are diving deep into Is it next week we're diving into the playoffs? NHL playoffs?
Next week NHL playoffs. We're going to give our takes. The playoffs might even be set by then, dang near, depending on how close the race is or not. I know you were chatting maybe the Blues and Habs and Wild all in a tight chase yet. I don't know. Are the Red Wings gone? Are they done? I didn't look.
Yeah, it's not looking good. Ottawa has all but secured the first wild card spot. The Habs are up 4 points on the Rags, and the Wings may be down there as well, chasing the Habs. But the Habs
I hate to see it because I wanted to see us make a run with Kaner there. I don't know how long he's going to stick around, so I wanted to see the boys make one, and I thought they had a pretty decent team this year. But before we move on, I want to chat about curling and the Bonspiel and all that this weekend. I want to know, do you know who the top 5 goal scorers in NHL history are now? Pop quiz.
Yager is 3. We talked Ovechkin, Gretzky, Yager. Who's the last one? Who am I missing?
How's it 3? Yager's at 4.
Oh, how's it? Yeah, you're right. How's it 3? Yager's at 4. Who's at 5?
That one honestly caught me off guard, and I was like, really? I didn't think it was that. But it's Brett Hall, 700.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh,
895 for Ovi, 894 for Wayne, 801 for Howe, 766 for Yager, and 741 for Hall.
So I was looking at a stat recently on most points, and Gretzky has the most points. That'll never be broken. I don't care. Davo's not going to touch it. Gretzky's most points is never going to be broken. Number 2 for points is Yager, and Gretzky has more assists than Yager has points. Maybe I didn't look that up. Maybe I heard that somewhere. Gretzky has more assists than Yager has points total. That's how. Yeah,
I think I see the stats or something. It was like only 1,300 more assists now for Ovi to break Wayne's assist record.
Too funny, man. And you know what? I saw an interview with Crosby. Crosby had a hat trick last night as well. Nice. So that was pretty cool. And in the post game presser, they asked Crosby, is this kind of your rebuttal to Ovi breaking Gretzky's record or tying Gretzky's record? Because at the time he hadn't broke it yet. And Crosby, the humble guy was like, not at all. Ovi is, Ovi's Ovi. There's no competition between us, man. It is what it is. Happy for him and doing his thing. So, Crosby and Ovi have been, kind of rivals, the face of the league for many years. And it's cool to see them both out here still doing the damn thing.
It's definitely cool though. But definitely one point though, to that though, is like I would say that, Crosby, again, more points than Ovi because I would say it follows a bit more of that Wayne path where he's more assists first over goals, right? As set up, he's got a lot more apples than Geno's. But if you look at like Wayne, goal scoring wasn't even his primary thing, right? So that's where like if there's ever a debate of who really is the greatest one, I think it's pretty undoubtable that it's Wayne, but the greatest goal scorer, undoubtedly Ovi.
Yep, agree. I know we're going to get over to curling here real quick. Going back to the empty netter, empty net or not, Ovi could have had a hat trick with Spencer Knight back in goal at the end of that game. Spencer Knight was back in goal, and I don't know if it was after Leonard's empty net. Shout out to Leonard for his first NHL goal in the same game that Ovi tied the record. However, Spencer Knight didn't make a ridiculous save, was in ridiculous position when Ovi had a little like blue line in breakaway on him at the end of that game. So Ovi could have had a hattie with the goalie in. Unfortunately, Spencer Knight shut him down there. So it was kind of cool to see. Empty net. Ovi was like waving off the coach when the coach was trying to get him out to get an empty net. So it was kind of cool.
He just like wasn't having it for an empty netter, right?
Love it. But I mean, even 2 or 3 games ago, Ovi was going out for the last 3 minutes of the game if there was an empty net, and he was just floating at the point. You know what I mean? Floating up by the point. They 6 men on from the other team, goalie out, and Ovi was out there the whole time just waiting for a puck to squeak out so he could hit an empty netter. But that's the way it goes, man. He was trying to break a record.
I guess they wanted that piece of history to not just be a lame empty net for forever, right? So, you think Sorokin let him have it?
No. I'll tell you what, that the shot
was a great shot.
Yeah, it was pretty far out. It was a wrister, but it was a wicked wrister. You know what I mean? I think Sorokin wishes he'd have it back for sure. I don't think,
I mean, he was leading all the way back. He had everything into that thing.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and it wasn't, it was a quick shot, right? All Ovi shots are quick, but it wasn't like a one-timer or anything like that. A classic Ovi one-timer. No, he got the puck and he ripped it, so it is what it is. It's in history now. It'll forever be there. And I'm excited to see how many Ovi can get through his career. What's going on down here, man? Looks like a bunch of overweight middle-aged men getting
what a thing to say. Obviously, shouts to Ovi for breaking the record. But the other thing we wanted to chat about is UFC and curling bonspiel. Before we get deep into curling here, we are live over on Whatnot. We're doing a UFC box break, chasing Josh Emmett auto. So you can grab a spot any weight. There's 9 different weight classes, random spot. We're guaranteeing auto from one of the mega hobby boxes in there. So hop in Whatnot, grab a spot right now. We'll be ripping that at the end of the show once we start deep diving into the Emmett fight. But down there, we had this past weekend in West Central Saskatchewan Oilmens Association put on the 62nd annual Oilmens Curling Bonspiel here in Kindersley. So it was a good time. We had 22 teams. I think it's near the most teams I've had, which is pretty awesome to see everybody come out in the community. Tons and tons of different sponsors, as always, to make the event come out. All the different, oil companies and families and stuff in the area that come together and make the event happen, and set up all the weekend of curling for the men, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then a lot of stuff for like all the oil wives, different bingo events, wine, cheese, different stuff set up. Make sure the ladies are entertained all weekend and stuff as well. My OBS is popping up at the bottom of the screen. Sorry, I'm trying to see what's going on there. But I just got a little time lapse down at the bottom just of the rink. I set it up to a little video just to give to the Oilmens Association. So they had a little promo down the road for future years or whatever. They can do whatever they want with the clip. But we were there on the left playing in that game. We actually ended up winning that morning set there while we were playing. Took out that team, won our first game on this Saturday there, and then lost the last one. Ended up the team we actually lost to, they're pretty good. Shamrock, shouts to the boys. They ended up winning the Seaside. So that was it was fun, but it's a good event they put on. Comes, just gives everybody a reason to come together here in springtime as work wraps up for all of us. As the thaw happens, we get into breakup. Everything's pretty slow. A lot of the farmers are, they're getting ready to get started. A lot of, guys farm and oil field is pretty hand in hand around here, and just cool to see everybody get together. Give out the Oilman of the Year award in the Saturday night banquet. I want to give a shout to Brian Reed. He's I guess a mentor of mine. Their families, I've worked alongside them for many, many, many years, and he's always been kind and gracious to me. So he was the award winner this year. He's done a lot for the community over his years, a crazy amount of experience in the oil patch, and just cool to see him get that recognition there at the banquet last night. But the curling was fun. Me and the boys, my buddy Jesse Isbin, shouts to him, Zach Deanna popped out. Our buddy Colin McDougall played with us on Friday, and then Saturday Zach's dad joined us. He was pretty good, so he just brought in a ringer right on weekend. But it was fun. We everybody get together, get out there, throw some rocks. I haven't curled since literally probably high school. Like, I know I curled once at the end of elementary, which was like 99. I think I probably maybe curled once in the early 2000s through high school. Haven't curled since. But it was fun. Like, the gist of the game, it's hard to you kind of adjust your weight and figure that out. But for the most part, like, going on one foot and having to push and slide, I snowboarded my whole life, so that comes pretty naturally or whatever, right? I already know how to skate. But the rules of curling, there's a few to learn. Like, there's a hash line. If we look here, I got a picture I'll pull up on here. I think there's a little hash line that you get on the saying. If I look here, where's my cursor there? So when you're throwing, you're coming down the line, you have to let it go before that big thick line, right? So that's like one of the curling rules that I had to study before I went. Just chat GPT, right? What are the curling rules? That's how I learned it. And you just toss the rock before that. So then you have, you just pick your lane, you're doing your curl, trying to spin it in. It's really a lot harder than it looks to try and land it on the button, right? Because it's a very like specific weight. It's pretty easy to throw it through. That's what me and the boys were doing all weekend. We kept throwing them through the back end, even though we were trying not to. So it's a little tough. You're better off like trying to set up guards or set up rocks so you have stuff to hit, more points to score, stuff to bounce off of. So definitely learning. We feel like we took in everything we need to know. We'll be back next year with a vengeance, right?
So you said you last time you played was 99. Is this like a high school type sport? Do the schools do it? Is there clubs? Do they
like it would be, I would say, I guess I don't know what you guys do in America, but through school, you would try at some point in high school, you would have like at least one field day of every sport, whether it be like football or soccer or curling or hockey or lacrosse or whatever. Cool. Right? So look, curling's just one of the things that there would have been a field trip at one point for whatever grade, go down, curl for the day or whatever.
That's right? Cool.
So that would be like the only time I ever did that. But yeah, I guess curling, I guess it would just be one of our sports because I don't know. Texas, it's like, so do you guys have ice all year round or like what do you guys like what goes on? It's like for us, we don't like most of the rinks are not going to keep ice in the winter or in the summer. Sorry. Like we just let the rink thaw. Right. And then it's used for other activities in the winter. There's not many places that really keep the ice in through summer. Right.
So here, all the rinks do.
All
the rinks. Yeah.
You don't really have a winter that would keep a rink cold anyway.
No. Well, I'm saying all the rinks have ice through winter or through summer here. But
that's what I mean though, because you guys don't have like a world where you have ice in winter. Because like around here, a lot of our teams are small town teams. Many of the rinks, they're frozen because it's outside. Like it's because it's bottom, right? You got like a lot of the small towns, not your main. You come to Kindersley, we have a heated arena. You sit there with the kids, blah blah blah, right? But a lot of the small towns, hockey season is literally frozen barns, right? Where you guys don't have that. You have to make ice 100% of the whole year, right? So for us in Canada, there's some, like in the city, you're going to have some place that keep the ice in all year and they'll have a camp or whatever, but it's going to be very minimal. Most of those places are, and it's maybe kind of odd, but they're going to turn into like indoor soccer, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah. So it's like, even though you could just go play outside, it's fucking summer. It's going to be indoor. So it's really winter sports and winter, summer sports and summer, right? And so curling, the ice is in winter. It's obviously then becomes a pretty natural thing for us to be doing because in winter we're not going out like you guys would and being able to golf, football, blah blah blah, because it's fucking winter, right?
Sure. So where I grew up in Pennsylvania, in the summer, the rink thawed and there was no hockey there. However, I'm sure there are curling clubs here. Talk to me about the curling clubs up where you're at in Canada. Do they, have multiple leagues, multiple seasons? Do people go out and play every Saturday, just like we do?
I know much about the sport. I mean, I just showed up for the Oilmens and curled for 4 days. But I know, they have curling leagues. You're going to have different divisions and blah, blah, blah. I mean, that's how you get into like the Scott Tournament of Hearts and the Briar and stuff like that. I know the Men's World Cup of Curling is actually this weekend. Canada lost out to go to the gold. I think they dominated, though, in the bronze. They might have actually set a record for biggest point differential in the World Series, I think, against China. I know when I tuned out at the end of the 8th, it was 10-2, and the greatest differential ever is 9. They were only 8 off. I know that stat randomly about curling, but for the most part, there's definitely leagues. I just don't participate in it, so I couldn't tell you a whole ton about it or how many teams are in local communities. But it would be just like anything. It'd be just like lacrosse, soccer, whatever. Just going to be curling leagues, different ages, different divisions, etc. But go ahead.
I have 5 questions for you. That's going to help me understand.
Let's see if I know. I don't know if I know anything, but we'll see.
5 questions. I want to keep it to 5 so we don't take this too far. All right. You said that the button, is the button just the blue part in the middle, or is the button the red circle as well?
So the button is like the dot in the middle. That's the button.
Oh, is the white dot in the middle of that
yeah,
one?
yeah. And then the rest of it is obviously your different like
Okay.
ring. Just because you want to be closest to the button. Whoever's the most center, that's the point that scores, right?
So there's only 1 point per hand. I get. Would you
No,
call it a hand? 1 point
no,
per turn.
No, it's however many closest to the center.
So if I
So
have
like,
2 closest to the center, that's 2 points. If I'm the red stones, and I have the 2 closest to the center, that's 2 points. But there's a blue stone nearby, and that
yellow
would
and
be the
red.
third closest. Okay. If I had the red and I had the 2 closest to the center, and there was a yellow one, which was the third closest, that would cancel out all other stones on the other side.
Yeah,
Further
exactly.
out?
That's exactly how
Okay.
it works. So you can score. I mean, you could score 8 points, which is probably not going to happen. The other team would have to be very pathetic. But like you'll see guys sometimes score 4 or 5 or something. But what's pretty common is like 2 or 3. But I'm not gonna. I'll give more detail. What other questions we got?
Okay. Question number 2. When you're running down the ice, what special things do you have on your shoes?
Absolutely nothing. I just have shoes on. Like it's
Okay.
so you just have shoes so that you can just shuffle and walk down the ice. So I just would literally like I wore a pair of skate shoes, a clean pair of shoes that I didn't wear on the street, but I just had.
Okay.
You can get curling shoes, and so what curling shoes are then is, and they're kind of interesting. But so your curling shoes, you have one shoe that would be like a street shoe, and then your other shoe actually has like a look at. You're gonna see how I roll my socks around here. That's how you get rich kids. You wear your socks till they fall right the fuck apart. You don't fucking throw them out.
What are we doing
That's
here?
how you get $1 million house. You keep your socks for fucking ever. But anyways, on the bottom of those pricks, there's like a literal like there's a literal fucking
God damn it.
So on the bottom of the shoe, there's literally like a piece that fits over that makes it like a normal shoe.
Mm-hmm.
So that you have 2 normal rubber bottoms. And then when you're throwing the rock, you actually remove that piece off of your foot, and then your foot has a slide. So for like me, who just had 2 normal shoes, I would actually put a slide on my shoe when I was throwing. Because then when you throw, you push off with your normal foot, and your slide is your front foot. So then you're sliding on your front foot and the rock, and then dragging your push foot behind. So the very first thing I did at the first 2 games, I forgot to put the slide on. And so I pushed off, and I was like, what the heck? I'm like stopping. So I was like skateboard pushing, panic, and then just kind of threw the rock with my arm because I wasn't sliding, and it fucking worked out mint. And then after, I was like, oh my God, I was supposed to wear the slide. So I wore the slide. Fuck, you just slide all the way. It's easy.
All right. Wait, I love that story. I get a 2A. So I only had 5, but this is just going to be 2A. Okay. How many times did you go down? How many times did you fall? You didn't fall at all?
No. Well, I had one like near slip in a push in the game yesterday morning where I did like a foof, but I got skateboard kid balance, bro. And
but what about when you're like doing the? Oh man, that
was the only time I almost sweep. There was one time where I just kind of lost my balance, but I was able to catch myself. Luckily, I don't know if anybody ate it this weekend. Actually, I didn't see anybody eat it anyway. But no, I had zero eat its. I had one near miss, but 0 eat its.
Got it. Love it, man. Love it. All right. Question number 3. So is it like bowling where you have so many, so bowling would be a frame like,
yeah. So I don't know what the real rules are necessarily. I want to say it's 10 ends in like professional. We played 8 ends. So you would play 8 ends. If it was tied, then you would have an extra end or whatever, right? But you play 8 ends. And so, well, again, I won't explain everything in case one of your questions.
Gotcha. Next question. Is there a particular physique that is sought after by curlers to improve performance?
A physique sought after by curl. I mean, I don't really know.
Like, does the weight of the beer gut help, or does it hurt? Where there are different shapes and sizes. What's the deal?
Yeah, every shape and size was able to dominate. So I think it's just a really inclusive game. It's really you definitely though like can get a little sore. It's a lot of bending over, down, stretching. Sweeping is like it's actually very exhausting. Like you're literally like I'm sitting at the boys like because I'm kind of like always consciously breathe when I work out because of Joel and like the Bam Bam Fitness workouts and stuff I always do. So I'm literally like yelling at the boys, fucking breathe, because I'm like in there like trying to like catch my breath as I'm going. But like definitely, so I planned on miking us up on Sunday because like we're a bunch of fucking idiots. Me and the boys just like literally are yelling at each other. I'm sure it's pure entertainment for everybody out there. Like, I'm sure they thought we all wanted to kill each other, but we were like, that's just how we are. We just fucking lip each other off, but none of us are ever actually really mad at each other, even though we're like, fuck you, you fucking dumbass, work a little harder. It's all just in good fun. But I'm going to do that next year. 100%. We got to mic the boys up because the fucking comedy banter back and forth out there is just absolutely hilarious. But before I get too deep, I think you got one more.
Yeah. So are stones all the same? Are all the stones, or are there like
no
speed stones? And okay, gotcha.
No, that's cool. That's a good question. But no, I mean, maybe you might have different designs of stones that could be a speed stone or a heavy stone, but like whatever was out there, every stone on every rink was the exact same stone.
Gotcha. I'll tell you what,
stones the same weight and everything.
I love watching curling at the Olympics. It's probably one of my favorite Winter Olympic sports to watch. I don't just, they do it right. You know, the announcers do it right. The like girls curling, males curling. Oh yeah, it's so much fun, man. They hype it up so much. I would love to do it if they do have a curling league down here or a curling. Go try it and have some fun. It would be a fun one to go do with some friends for sure.
For sure. And then so like the way the scoring works too. So whoever has last rock, that's called the hammer. So you'll even see it when you're watching. They'll show like who has the hammer, right? So a hammer means you have the last rock. So that's usually the person who should be scoring points when you're playing in curling, right? So the way it'll work is, say they have the hammer on the first one. The opposing team would get the last throw. If they scored 1 point or 2 points, they would get that point. The hammer becomes ours. So then they throw first on the next one. So there's actually like some strategy sometimes. I mean, you even would have seen Canada doing it in the Men's World Cup. But sometimes there's strategy of like, okay, at the end, you only have the opportunity to score one. You're maybe better off to actually try to just smash the other guys out and have yours go out and score 0, keep the hammer, retry the next round to try to get 2 or 3, right? Obviously, the more you can score, the better. But sometimes there's actually like strategy in not taking points if you can stop the other team from taking points to have a retry, because it's usually the person with the last rock who should always score points or none if in the way it works, just because of the way how curling works. I mean, you're going to have the odd inning where maybe it's very hard to do that because of the way the stones are set up, but it really should almost always work out in a way where that last rock has the chance to determine how it all ends, right?
That's interesting. So similar to cornhole or bags, whatever you call it, wherever you're at, that if you scored points in the last round, you throw the first bag, meaning that the team that didn't score points has the last bag, or in curling, the hammer. Very interesting. And I would agree with that. Just kind of relating it to cornhole is if you're getting smoked and then all of a sudden you score points, you give them the last bag and you're like, oh, that wasn't that it's trouble, to give somebody the last bag because they can see the whole board. They have every opportunity to score. So, dude, very interesting, man. I'm glad you had a blast. It sounds like it was a good time. You guys celebrated the Oilmen and everything they're doing. Got the wives all dialed in, and sounds awesome.
Well, it's good. And so I know today too, I was there watching this afternoon for a little bit. TKC Trucking, they took home the A side. Linko Hot Oiling. There's the other company that does the same stuff I do in the hot oil industry. They won the B side. Shamrock, that's a team we lost to in the C. They ended up taking it home, so shouts to them. And then Salt and Light ended up winning the D side division. So they all take home prizes from the different sponsors, TKC Trucking, Hollands, and the different companies that sponsored those prizes. But one of the other cool things that went on too, and I know we chatted about it, is Calcutta. So pretty much every tournament I go in, I don't know if we're just a bunch of degenerate gamblers up here or what, but like any tournament I go in, whether it's golf, whether it's curling, whether it's anything like this, always run a Calcutta. And so what a Calcutta is basically, obviously you would know how like a 4-man scramble would work in a golf tournament, right? So curling would be very similar, 4-man team of curling, right? And so what the Calcutta is is every team, you can buy them. And so let's say, for example, in this curling tournament, there was 22 teams in it. And so every team goes up for sale. And so the way it worked is at the end of the first night, they're all for sale. You can kind of see who's in the A division, who's in the B, who's in the C, and who's going to end up in the C or D, right? And then you sell all the teams. And we do the same thing in golf tournaments, etc. And then this Calcutta, how it works is every team that made the finals would pay out. And so there would be 60. So there's money's raised. That's 100% of the pot, right? 10% of everything in the Calcutta goes to the Oilmens Association. 90% gets paid out in prizes. So now take that 90%, you split it in 25% each, right? And then 60% to the team that wins that division, 40% to the team that makes the finals and loses. So you're going to have 8 people that get paid out. And depending on the tournament format, those payouts might be different, right? Like sometimes when we do the golf, there's maybe 7 or 8 divisions. So there's going to be 7 or 8 teams. Whoever wins pays out. But so what you're doing is you're in essence gambling and supporting the foundation or committee or whatever you're doing at that time. And the Oilmens, sometimes, the money gets flying around a little bit, but the hands were flying as a record-setting $100,000 was raised by just a bunch of drunk guys sitting around tables upstairs at the curling rink, throwing the hands up, betting on each other. So it was pretty fun to see. Fun to see some of the guys running each other up and having a good old time. But record-setting number, and obviously shouts to everybody on the Oilmens committee for putting it together, having that event come together like that, and then getting that group of people up there. But so everybody's out buying their teams, gambling on their friends, kind of beaking each other if their team loses out. And so with that setting number, there was, I think that, I don't know if any team went for 10 grand, but I think there was a team that sold for 9,500. Everybody was sleeping on us. I think we could have got ourselves pretty cheap, but one or two of the guys were just bidding us up. But I think we got our team for $2,500, and we were one of the cheapest, which was, we were slept on. We're rookies on there, so we almost made a run at it. Next year, everybody's fucked now that we know how to play the game. We'll be coming back with a vengeance. But so it's cool. So you're just basically gambling on all the squads, right? And so for us, we just gambled on ourselves. My teammate, he bought a couple other teams as well, and I think one of them made the finals, so it gets squared up. But with that kind of money raised, everybody who owned the teams that won the final got paid out 13 grand. And if the team that was lost in the final got paid out 9 grand. So it's kind of, it's cool. If we would have made our way to the final, we would have made a bunch of money on ourselves by getting there, right? So it's cool. But we always do that at most organizations. And even if you have a smaller version where teams are only going for $20, $50, $80, it's still a great way to raise money at almost any sporting events, right? And it gets people a little involved, and you can have a lot of fun with it, right?
Dude, it sounds awesome. And I was going to ask you those things: is who bought you guys, and how much did it cost? So that's phenomenal. Shout out.
We lost $2,500, but fuck, we should have known better. We're never curled in our lives, but you gotta fucking put a little faith. That was motivation. When I'm out there throwing the rock, it's important. I'm gonna lose $2,500 if I miss this fucking shot, and I did. But what do you do? Luckily, we split it, so we only lost $800 each. But what do you do?
Dude, I love it, man. I do want to give a shout out. We are on Whatnot right now. We're live on Whatnot, live on Instagram, I think we're on Facebook, on X, on YouTube, live everywhere. But after this show on Whatnot, there's a UFC break happening. TKB, what's in the UFC break? Tell us about it.
We got Omega here. I'll pop it up on the screen here. I think we got her back in the corner.
But
we're gonna be ripping all kinds of stuff. We just got couple blasters, so nothing, those are just retail, nothing wild about them, but I have been making some cool pulls out of them. But we got every year 2022, 2023, 2024, and then the Tops Mega Hobby, guaranteed one auto in here. So one of those weight divisions, we're guaranteed pulling an auto. There's some sick product in here. I have a lot of the different cards laying around, actually sitting over here, some Alex Pereiras, some Volkanovski. I forgot to turn on the light, so that'll make her shine nice and bright over there. But all kinds of goodies, but we're chasing autograph there tonight. And speaking of that, I just again want to thank everybody in the Oilmens Association, everybody that made that weekend happen. It's pretty fun. But I definitely want to deep dive into the UFC a bit too. Obviously, Josh Emmett, One Punch Cards, big fan of Josh's. Got to meet him at VCon here this past summer. Just amazing, humble dude. Literally, always kind of nervous meeting a guy of that stature of fame. And he was just so nice, so kind, chatted with him a little bit, kind of had a good conversation. And like every other time I seen him from throughout the weekend, he would like make a point of like coming and saying hi and like having a little bullshit with me. And it was really cool. Just an absolutely legendary dude and one of the nicest humans I've ever met, which is what you often find with some of these fighters. They're like really, really, really nice people, right? But yeah, it's cool to see that. I know you watched the fight. I don't know if you want to break that down a little bit. I'll pull up the card in the background here. We can go over who won, who lost, and then touch on the Emmett fight a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. While you're pulling that up, talking about Josh Emmett, just a staple in the division. He has been around the block, 40 years old, has been with Team Alpha Male since Team Alpha Male started back in the day with Uriah Faber 20 years ago or something like that. I don't know how long it's been. But I was in Northern California for quite some time, and Alpha Male was just when I did jiu-jitsu up there. You go to tournaments, and when the Alpha Male boys were there at the tournaments, it was trouble, that's for sure.
Yeah, no, it's crazy. But Torres Finney goes to 11-0 with a win over Robert Valentine. 3rd round decision, goes all the way. Odie Osborne takes out Luis Garule with a round 2 TKO in that fight. Brad Tavares, cousin to John Tavares, I just made that up, round 3rd decision.
Probably, though.
Yeah, I don't see why not. Lee Chang Ho.
This was a fun fight with Romanis and Lee Chang Ho. They were both grappling, both striking. It was one was on one's back, the other was on the other. I mean, it just kind of went back and forth. But Lee Chang Ho had the dominant position a lot of the fight and cut open Romanis pretty early in the second round there, and it was all she wrote, ground and pound from the top, elbows to the face. It was a fun fight to watch. It was a really fun fight to watch because they were grappling all over the place, and nobody really held a dominant position for a long period of time before they reversed or slipped. The other fighter slipped out. So that was a fun fight to watch, that's for sure. And followed up by the Brito Sabatini fight, which was the most boring fight I've ever seen in my life. I love grappling, and I know a lot of folks would like less grappling in the UFC because it's it can be boring, especially if you don't understand it. This fight, Sabatini got on top of Brito every single round. Got him flat on his back in half guard from top and
just laid him away, right? Yeah,
laid on him, and it seemed like every single round, Brito would just be flat on his back. Sabatini in top half, just having him flat on his back and throwing punches.
And obviously, the wrestling fans will always argue, if you don't want to be there, learn how to get out of it. But it's definitely boring for sure. I'm never entertained when I'm watching a wrestling fight in the octagon.
I'll tell you what, I am super entertained by them.
Okay.
But this one was not. Brito could not get to his hip. It just wasn't his fight. It wasn't what he was. And Sabatini did exactly what he needed to do to win 100% for sure. Brito's got to get back in the gym and learn some escapes because he was struggling. That's for sure.
Nice. Yeah, no. And obviously the big fight, Emmett versus Murphy, that I really want to break down. And Josh Emmett, they run one punch cards. So I don't want to give away our business or anything like that, but they have a really cool card stream over on Whatnot. Definitely go check them out. They're always breaking UFC cards all the time. They have UFC Finest product. They'll probably have the UFC Royalty product, which Josh Emmett is featured in. And when you go and join their Whatnot streams and those breaks, you're obviously going to get a way cooler experience than over here with our Bush League takes, because you're literally getting stories from a dude, like you said, who's been with Alpha Male since the start, gets to participate in the background of UFC, and you get to really get those stories. And you can ask him anything. He's a UFC vet. He has those questions, those answers. So definitely, as much as I would love you guys to come grab a spot in our break tonight, definitely go check out One Punch Cards. They're pretty sweet. But no bias aside, as much as I love Josh Emmett, I don't really know if I agree with the full outcome of the fight personally. I don't know if I seen it the way the judges seen it. And I think for myself, I really want to see the scoring evolve somewhat in MMA. I just think it's archaic at this point, and it's not, reminiscent of the outcome. I know I've said in the past that I feel like, especially saying like championship rounds 4 and 5, I think there should be added weight value to those rounds in fights. I think because how a fight ends to me is more important than how a fight starts. Because I mean, that's what matters is how it ends. But in this fight, I would say that round 1, personally, you give that round to Emmett. I think the judges unanimously did give a 10-9 round to Emmett. He was more of the aggressor, while Ron Murphy was trying to feel him out and get a touch for what was going on. And he comes out of the round 10-9, but he also wears and it was an accidental headbutt, but he wears a headbutt, which they break. He kind of wears an elbow off of that. The elbow didn't do any damage, but he gets a cut right early that is pouring right down his eyes. And you hate to see that. I mean, there's no way that doesn't affect you in your fight. No excuses, but it's a crappy way to start the first minute and a half of your fight, getting a headbutt, blood in your eyeballs. Like, wow.
Agree. For those that haven't watched the fight, the final score was a decision to Murphy. Judges had it 48-47, 49-46, and 48-47. I would agree with you that it probably could have been a split decision finish. But back to the first round.
I want to go round by round. I want to break it down.
So back to the first round. The headbutt, the cut, the blood in his eyes, for sure. Just an unfortunate series of events. It was nothing malicious. They were both going in, headbutt, it happened. And I'll tell you what, going into the second round, it was pretty funny because I don't know if it was Dominic Cruz or if it was Michael Bisping. They're like, this guy's like, he said, this guy's like Wolverine. You can't even tell it's there. It probably healed already. And then the other one's like, Vaseline.
I think Bisping was like the wonder of Vaseline. But I was going to say the cut man like definitely cleaned that thing up because it only like dripped one more time, I think, throughout the fight a little later on. But nonetheless, that doesn't determine anything. He still won that first round, but crappy way to have to go through the fight with blood in your eye from what isn't a legal strike, right? That's always crap, but it's part of the fight game.
Fighting.
It's fighting. You go into round 2. Leron Murphy starts to be a little more aggressive in the second round. But one thing I go when you look at scoring, like I really remember back in the day, and even now you see sometimes where it's like you got to get the takedown. That's how you score points. I would say like Josh Emmett literally levitated a man. I've never seen, he's what, 5'6"? I've never seen a man so high in the air. He had him literally over his head. Like that was an amazing takedown. The second he picked him up like he was nothing and just threw him on the ground.
It'll be a highlight reel for this year for the UFC, for many years for the UFC. A high single leg, lifted him up over his head and didn't, pile driver him into the ground, threw him on the ground. It was very impressive. Early, maybe they weren't sweaty enough. It was, again, one of the most impressive takedowns that I've seen maybe ever. It was really cool. Really cool to watch. That's for sure.
Absolutely. And that round, they give it to Murphy and he was a little more aggressive, but it's always odd because it seems like in some fights, takedowns are just crazy valued. And then a fight like this, when you see the final outcome, which I'll get into at the end, but it almost seems like they didn't even care that he had these takedowns, right? But big takedown in that round. And then I think most people gave it to Murphy. I might agree with that. But I got it 1 round each coming out of 2 rounds.
One thing that in the first 2 rounds that I thought Emmett did very well was cutting off Murphy circling. Emmett was always cutting him off.
Grab a piece of paper.
No worries. And coming in with those power punches. And while Murphy was tapping Emmett, I felt like Murphy wasn't as strong in his attacks and his significant strikes, where I felt Emmett's were much more. Again, damage is one of the factors scored in fights, and I would say neither fighter looked overly damaged other than the illegal blows or not illegal blows, the inadvertent blow that happened in the first to Emmett. So a couple things that, you would hope Emmett would be able to do a little bit more. Some things that Murphy did well was Murphy did escape that ground control that Emmett had. And again, looking at scoring, does being able to stand up quickly after a takedown negate the takedown, or does it award more points for the person that was taken down? So
to break that discussion down once we get through all the rounds a little bit to kind of get the full picture of it. But in round three the eye poke, or round 4? I forget. But one of those rounds, whether it be 3 or 4, an eye poke. But round 3, same thing. Murphy kind of kept on the pressure. I would agree that he probably took that round 10-9. Nothing too exciting went on in that round. You go into the 4th round now, and that's where, again, I think Emmett came out the aggressor. I mean, that his corner between the 3rd and the 4th round, like they told him, like, you got to get out there. You got to be a bully. It is now time to get out there, do your thing. You might be down 2 rounds to 1. Like, it's time to go and get at her. And I feel like he did. He came out. He was 100%, in my opinion, the aggressor through that 4th round. And again, where's another illegal strike right at the end of the round, which we'll touch on too. But all that round was Emmett being the aggressor. Murphy, almost all the strikes, leg kicks, leg kick, over and over and over, leg kick, keeping distance, adding up strikes, pretty much all leg kicks, and just over and over and over again. I have, like, my opinion on leg kicks is obviously absolutely valuable part of a fight. But when you get to the end of a fight, and especially when you are in a 5-round, 25-minute fight, if those leg kicks don't lead to you taking the man down and getting ground control, I know you talk about, okay, Emmett took him down 4 times, but he was able to get right back up every time, 100%. And it's not as valuable of a takedown if you're not accomplishing damage on the ground. That's for sure. But at the same time, if you're kicking a man's leg for 25 minutes and you're not going and being an aggressor and getting the knockout, you're not using those weak legs to take him down, when the fight comes to an end, again, that's why I just hate the complete just round by round scoring, because when it comes to the end, okay, cool, he had all these leg kicks. I don't care. He didn't do anything with it. And that's really how I feel about the leg kicks. And the 4th round was just nothing but leg kicks, leg kicks, leg kicks. I personally scored it 10-9 Emmett. When I watched the fight, I scored it to Emmett because I seen a man aggressing, him getting probably some of the better actual blows to the head. And sure, he wore twice as many strikes to the legs, but I don't care. Like, if you're kicking a man in the legs that many times, you could even tell Emmett was getting annoyed by it and was like, let's fight. Like, and you could kind of tell by the end of the 4th round. And I don't want to get into the 5th unless you're done giving your take on the 4th. But it was just leg kicks. And to me, the Emmett, the aggressor, you look at the scorecard after, the judges pretty much all gave it unanimously to Murphy. I didn't see that when I watched it.
So looking at the scorecards, the judges' scorecards, I thought it was pretty even. Emmett, number 1, 1st round, Murphy, 2nd round. But after that, I thought the 10-9s were really intermixed for Murphy and for Emmett between the judges. One judge had Emmett as a 10, the other 2 had Murphy as a 9, or vice versa. So, I mean, that just tells you how close of a fight that this was. You were talking about leg kicks, and I think leg kicks are an extremely valuable part of the sport, and it's just something you put the time in, and it's going to pay off in those later rounds. However, one thing not considered here is Josh Emmett is one tough son of a bitch. You know what I mean? He is one tough son of a bitch, and he ate him. He started, he was checking him. He was doing everything that he was supposed to, and that's why it had no effect, right? I think just the fact that how tough that dude is, how long he's been in the sport, and what he's been able to do in the sport just, speaks volumes. Now the 4th round, I don't know. Again, I think everything was so close. I thought that Emmett was the aggressor. As you said, Emmett landed more power punches where Murphy was more volume. Just really, really an interesting dichotomy there between the 2.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, myself personally, I thought it was 4-4 because I was going into it like I honestly would have gave Emmett the second round with the takedowns and stuff. But I was going into it going, okay, I don't want to be biased. The refs might have it 3-1 going to Murphy. I might have it 3-1 going to Emmett. I really think going into this final round is a 2-2 round going into the fourth, and then that fifth round. It was boring, and it was not boring because of Emmett. He was aggressing the entire time. There was one point where he said, like, let's throw down, and he kind of caught a shot at that point. That shot might have affected.
You're talking about the one that wobbled him?
Yeah, that one might have affected the judge's vision a little bit, but I mean, didn't even drop him. He just stepped back, and then it was a hand down, let's throw down when he wore it, right? But
that one was, so he did say, let's throw down a couple times. The one where he got wobbled, I mean, you could tell, like you said, he was annoyed. He was like, what are we even doing here? He pointed over to the side, like, hey, look over there. You know what I mean? Just messing around, like, hey, what's that over there? And then he got clipped. But all in all, a solid fight. Emmett, a dog, a solid performer against Murphy, who, in my opinion, isn't trying to win that fight by TKO, by KO. He's trying to sit on the outside, run, point, strike, and see what happens. Yeah.
But like, so when you get to the end of that fight, so what damage was done to Emmett, right? Like, none. There was 2 marks on his head that were both from illegal blows. One of there should have been a point deducted probably between. So he wore a headbutt. He wore an illegal elbow right to the back of the head, an insane cut right in the back of the head. Like when the ref seen that, I honestly was like, man, you should have taken a point because he's already headbutted him and he's already eye poked him and you've already threatened him a point, and then he elbowed the guy in the back of the fucking head. Well, now you're giving him the warning for the elbow. You've literally warned this man for everything but a nut shot. I feel like it was unfair because what other damage was done to him? Absolutely none, except for the leg kicks. And I just go back to it. I think the leg kicks are worth absolutely fucking nothing. I think leg kicks are a vital point of MMA. That's how I feel. They're a very vital point to the game. But I honestly believe they're almost worthless in scoring. It is what do you do with weakening the legs that is what should score you the points. Like, I literally think leg kicks should not be very much valued. And I literally think that a scoring system needs to evolve in MMA for that to matter, right? And takedowns, only so much value, the control time, etc. Some of that I think they're getting right. Like, I think it was too takedown heavy weighted back in the day. I think it's a little more sane in that respect now, but I just don't think that the scoring system should just be a straight 10-9 round by round. And I don't think that we should just be looking at, oh, he kicked him in the leg 40 times. Leg kicks are useless. It's, did he hurt his body? Did he hurt his ribs? Did he hurt his head? And the only time he really hurt his head was illegal blows. So I don't know. It's just, I thought that just by that last round, by Murphy running scared for 5 minutes, that there's no way he should have got a win. I think it's pathetic to see a professional fighter run for 5 minutes in the 5th round. And I just don't think it's fair. Even if you do go into it going, oh, I'm up 3-1, all I got to do is get through. That is bullshit. Dana should make him fight 7 more times before a title, because if that's the way you're going to act to try to get to the title, you don't deserve it, man. You got a guy who's 40 years old stepping in the ring fighting you. Fucking throw down to the end. That's what I want to see. I want to see fucking men fight. I don't want to see some dude run for 5 minutes and then 16-0. Fucking rights, he got booed the whole time. He deserved it. Fight like a man. You're in the fucking UFC.
He got booed hard after that was over.
And that's just in the Apex. But and there was barely any fans there, man. If he was in a big stadium, and we'll get into that another time when we talk UFC 315 in the future about the difference between stadium and Apex. But I feel like he deserved the boost. He ran for 5 minutes. You watch that 5th round, he ran for 5 minutes.
It would be noticed more in the larger ring too, in the stadium ring. And what is it, like 10 feet longer or something like that? I don't know.
You definitely noticed the ref. This side note, like you noticed him a few times telling the guys, like, no, like making them like, no, get back, because they start so close to each other that he's like making sure they're distanced back. But no, it was cool to see that, and just I think Emmett deserved a better. I think, for a young guy coming in, I think it's disrespectful to not fight to the end against a guy like that. Personally, I think it is. Agreed. I think you respect those people before you. It's not like a Mike Tyson, Logan Paul. He's an older athlete, a veteran of the sport, coming in there to make one more run. fight like a man to the end. Emmett deserved that opportunity, I think, and he just ran scared.
Agree. So I love Josh Emmett. I mean, absolute dog, absolute legend. One title shot. The hope was he would get to another. Still time. Still has an opportunity. Still has a chance. I do want to.
He looks so good. Like he fucking has
Dude.
rebuilt himself. Like, I mean, holy shit, I wouldn't fuck with that dude, man.
Gnarly beard too. Gnarly beard. All right, but I want to say one thing.
I got the little grease started here. I could only go so far, and I just get pissed off and annoyed. I get rid of it.
Love it. So I know we're getting to this break here pretty soon. I have one more. I have a counter take to what you said, that Emmett's only damage was illegal or incidental blows. Vice versa, the damage to Murphy was the same, right? Didn't have much damage. Wasn't wearing much damage from the fight. I don't think any.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I agree that there was probably no damage either way. But I would say that without a doubt, the only reason that there was no damage was because one guy spent at least 12 minutes running. He spent almost half of the entire time backing up. How do you win a fight backing up 50% of the time?
And octagon control is supposed to be a rating for.
Well, exactly. So when you break down the end of that fight, how did he win? Because octagon control, no chance. It was not even comparably close. It was 100% Emmett. Takedowns, 4-0. Significant strikes, only leg kicks. Headshots, I would honestly argue Emmett had more headshots landed. He landed a few pretty decent rights. I would say that Murphy had the harder one at the end in the 5th round with that connection. But strikes?
Murphy had more head strikes, but more, and then significant strikes, right? That's subjective. You know what I mean? So it is what it is. Here's where I was going, was that nobody won that fight. Nobody won that fight. For them to give a winner, it sucks. It sucks for us as the fans. That fight could have went a few more rounds, and who knows what would have happened. And you really can't change that. You really can't change that. In my opinion, Josh Emmett did not lose that fight. Murphy did not lose that fight. Neither of them did.
I would say that something that, and it just popped into my mind now, so it might be a complete Bush League take, but that's what we do here on Bush League Sports. But I truly think that if you have a fight going into 3 rounds, it's difficult. Well, no, even 3 rounds. If you have a 3-round fight where a guy's going into it up 2-0, or a 5-round fight where a guy's going up into it 3-1, 4-0 is a little different. But a 3-1 in that scenario, I truly think that if that person comes and there should be a rule. Like if they are going backwards more than 60% of the round, avoiding fight, like for 3 minutes or more of that round, I truly think that should be like, you should no contest these MF, or not no contest. You should draw these MFers. Like literally, if you're going in there thinking, okay, I've won my rounds and I can just dawdle in the last round, I literally think that they should overweight that. And maybe you don't give the other guy the win, but like you said, nobody won it. Nobody won it because the one guy ran and didn't give an opportunity for the last round to matter. So fuck him, draw. And then it's a win for the guy who tried, and it's a fuck you for the guy that's making a mockery of the sport in the final round.
You made a point saying that Dana should give Murphy 7 more fights before he gets anything of value. And I think Dana does a good job of policing the sport in that way.
Yeah, 100%.
Dana does a great job of, when he sees people not performing or running a 3rd round when they'd won the first 2 handedly. Dana does an awesome job of speaking of it. Yeah. Speaking his mind and then executing an effective plan so that person is punished in one way or another. So,
well, and I'm glad he does, because we need to hear it from him. Like we're over here, we're giving our Bush League takes, but every one of these MFers would beat the shit out of me. So it's like, who am I to fucking lip these guys off? I'm not. But I love that. I just think it would make the sport better. To me, it's the same as hockey is a reference where I've talked to you about going to a 3-point scoring system, because you'll see teams in the last couple minutes of a game. Okay, we'll both just dawdle. We'll get to overtime. We're both going to get a point. It would matter a lot more if it was a 3-point game and you didn't get that extra point by going to overtime. And I think that there's some stuff that can really be implemented into MMA scoring, which to me is, if I was to say, like, what are 3 adjustments right now that you should make in scoring? I think that championship rounds should be weighted more value than the front end rounds. I really do think that. I think that leg kicks should have almost no impact on scoring. And I think that their value comes from what you accomplish from those leg kicks out of it. And I also truly think that I kind of lost my train of thought, but the other thing, I don't know. I lost my train of thought completely.
No, you're good. I think we'll see it. Hopefully we see it soon.
It was the other thing I said, that if they're going up 3-1 or 2-0 into a third or a fifth round, like, you go draw. You don't let a person run in the last round. You make it in the rules. If you have, and you go by a control time, if you're being aggressive, if you're backwards 3 minutes or more in the final round, you fucking lose. Like, go fight. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I didn't want to.
No, you're good.
Like a complete idiot. Oh, I stopped myself. We don't get canceled tonight. I didn't want to seem like a complete idiot, not even knowing my own Bush League takes.
No worries, man. No, I don't like. I don't even want to say it was a bad fight. It was a good fight. It was fun to watch. Obviously, you and I are both cheering for Emmett and wanting him to get in there, and kind of being bummed when we're not seeing it. But Emmett performed again. Highlight takedown in the second round.
Great, man. I think he won the fight. I think he should have got the win.
Highlight takedown in the second round. Would love to see some top control. I think he still had, even though he had a minute of control, which is pretty solid. So I think this was his first fight with over 2 takedowns since his first fight. So good to see him get 4 takedowns there, and on to the next one.
Yep. I love it. Well, I know we're about to wrap up the show. We'll be moving over to Whatnot for maybe about 20 minutes after the show. There's not too many spots gone in that break, so I might hang out, rip a couple cards with whoever's hanging out in the show, and do that. But it's been a good conversation today. Obviously, a little deep dive on curling. The OV record took over a good chunk of the show, but I mean, we've always been a pretty hockey orientated show, so there's that. Also, too, getting near the end, we got to give a big congrats. This is the most prestigious piece of hardware probably in the universe. This is a Bush League Classic. So we started this trophy 2017. We started this bad boy. We better go up. We need a bigger view here. Oh, we started this bad boy 2017, right? Bush League Classic. So this league, I've been running this league since, how old was I? 21. So I've been running this league for 17 years, something like that. It's kind of, there's been a few changes, but for the most part, the same, like, people forever. But yeah, so we got the trophy 2017. Coco, he took me out last week in the semifinals. Obviously, just trash. My Oilers guys were out. I make you a trade for Hurdle. I think you owe me. We're going to have to make a deal in the offseason. You owe me a little back pay. Hurdle didn't play a fucking game for me in the playoffs. You robbed me blind. You could have gave me other players, but you're being cheap, holding out, and then you give me some guy who doesn't even play. But nonetheless, Coco with the big win. We see here, when the trophy was first inaugurated, can we see it?
Yeah.
Oh, we can. When the trophy was first inaugurated, TKB with the 3-peat at the start. You love to see it. Coco taking home the win, 21, 22. Earl Caster, you play football with him. He's in our football league. I'm always wheeling trades. He won it last year. Or no, 2 years ago. I came back with the win last year, and Coco will be back again. So in the last 8 years, I got 4. Coco's got 3, and Earl's got 1. So some pure dominance, because it's a big league, right? There's 14 of us there. There has been 1 year where I think there was 12, but big congrats to Coco. I love beaking the shit out of the boys every week and just fucking like making, like, if I'm winning, it's because I'm great at fantasy. If I'm losing, it's because my players suck. And that's just how it works. But it's all good. Congrats to Coco. It sucks losing out when all your players are injured. But at the end of the day, it's the way she goes. That's fantasy hockey, and tough break. It is hard having. I literally had my top 3 players out, so it's.
So I was just checking though. I think you brought home 3rd, didn't you?
Did I make it? So again, if I made that comeback, that'll be interesting, because I've been down all week. and I really had to strategize to try to get to that end game.
You were 8-7 when I looked before the show.
Yeah, it's 8-7 right now. Is the game done? The last game, hurdle. So we still got McNabb playing Vegas, 52. So it's going to come down to blocks. I targeted today. So here, let's see. Can we see? 8-7, Big B. So he dominated me in goals and assists this week. Absolute. But so today, my target, I had the options. I talked to you earlier. And honestly, if I would have picked up Nedeljkovic, it probably actually might have worked. He ended up with a 933 save percentage. But let's get that up. But so the stats, the way they go, right, with those goalie stats, that save percentage, all I needed was to go up 0.002, and I would take that over, and the goals against would have came with it, right? So I thought about chasing that, but it was really risky. So I end up chasing, if you look at it, here, I'll try to keep it center in there. If you look at it, what I chased today was PIMs because I was behind in PIMs. I chased blocks because I was behind in blocks. And I chased faceoffs because I did have to chase faceoffs. Actually, I thought I had enough faceoffs to get it with the players I had. But so I had to swing a couple stats and it worked out. Right now, 52 blocks, 51. I picked up McNabb as my pickup today. He's got 1 block, which is the difference right now. Balin still has Sherwood playing. So 3 hits. If he gets a block, but he's a forward, so he doesn't really usually have many blocks. So that doesn't pan out in his favor. Let's also see what he did. He benched both his goalies. Oh man. So he benched both his goalies. They got 966 save percentage, 920 save percentage. So it actually would have went up his save percentage. They have enough saves that he would have beat me in saves, and they have enough and they won both games, so he would have tied. So actually he ended up being his own worst enemy because 2 wins ties it, and he would have dummied me. Actually, he would have taken 2 more categories. We'd be sitting at a 9-6. So he actually was his own worst enemy in trying to save his save percentage today. Which you never know how it's going to work out, though, right?
Yeah,
that's why I said
that's a tough one because he had Sorokin against Ovi in the Caps. You know,
and he had Ovi on it. He has Ovi on his team too.
Yeah, and then he had Gustafsson against the Stars. I mean, those are both, 2 of the top 3 teams in the NHL your goalie's playing against. So it's
I would have done exactly what he did.
Yeah, me too.
I would have done exactly what he did. So just total bad luck. But if Balin, if you're watching, you'll get the sympathy here for a second. But whoa, that's a fucking 3rd place. What's up, boys? You love to see it. Thank you for playing. I love all of you. And thank you for joining this year. It's been fun. I hope you've enjoyed playing in the league with all of us and having a bunch of Canadians lipping each other off about hockey and having a good old time. I hope you enjoyed it. It's been a fun year, and we're going to incorporate a lot more of that into the show in the future. And we'll probably talk about that a little bit next week when we, almost playoffs, right? Playoffs start April 19th. So we're 13 days out from playoffs. Next week will be the last show we do before playoffs are set. So we'll deep dive into that, where everybody's at and who's making it, who's at, and we'll give our playoff predictions as long as those brackets are set. We'll do that next week. If they're not, then we might do it the first week of playoffs. We'll only be 2 or 3 games in and we can do it. But in the next week or 2, we'll set our brackets. We're going to have a little probably competition going on socials. Once we do that, we'll put it out, maybe let some people compete against us and win some pack rips. But speaking of that, we're going to wrap up the show. I'm going to hop on to Whatnot. So if you're still in the stream, we got a link up by Trav's head there. You can hop into the Whatnot stream. I'll go rip a pack or 2 over there, and we'll have a good old time. But next week, deep dive in playoffs. And thanks, everybody, for joining us this week, chatting the Emmett fight, a little OV record breaking, and some curling. Hopefully people learned a little bit about curling. The one thing I never got into before we wrap up the show when it comes to curling is the way they call their shit, right? So I know, I think I had a picture up here earlier. Let me see. I'm just going to pull this up quick for a second. Let me see. Where's that? Oh, I took away the curling picture. But so you know how a curling rock works, right? I think most people know how a curling rock is designed, right? You have the rock, and then on top, your color, there's a handle on it, right? So when you're throwing rocks in curling, they call in turn and out turn, right? So if I was to tell you, okay, like I'm throwing the rock down the ice, What do you think an in-turn would be?
Based on spinning the rock, so from outside to inside, or a spin of the wrist towards the inside.
But like if towards the inside, like what do you mean?
Inside of your body, right? Or the inside of your throw, so that the rock, I guess it would depend. I would look at it two ways. An in-turn would either be, coming from the outside in to the button, the field of play, or based on the way you would spin it, an in-turn would be spinning it in towards your body versus an out-turn would be spinning it out.
Yeah, no, so that's exactly what it is. And so that's like, it could confuse the hell out of us because you got everybody there yelling like, oh, in-turn, out-turn. And I'm like, what the fuck? Like, because to me, as a right-handed dude, in-turn would be I curve it in, right? I'm on the outside, I curve it in, or I curve it out, right? And so it's kind of interesting because they have this terminology of the in-turn, out-turn. But for me, like when you're curling, usually you're going to like pick, okay, we're trying to hit this rock. And then you'll set your broom out is what they do. So when you see them set their broom out and hold it, what they're doing is and the skip is, they're talented and they know what they're doing. I didn't, but I was just pretending the whole time. But they'll set that broom out so that the person throwing the rock, that's the distance they think, you throw this way, you put your curl on it. If you aim at this, then it'll go far enough out that curl will bring it back in, right? So that's what the stick always is. So when my first like game, what my goal was, which was absolutely wrong, I was trying to kick off, get over, lined up straight with it, and just throw straight at it and then curve it, right? And so then once our buddy joined, who was a little more pro, he's like, no, you go down the center line, aim at it. And so I actually should have just kept doing what I was doing because it made it way fucking harder for me because you had to try to put a lot more spin or shit on it to make like those moves happen. But I was just sitting there like, we're a bunch of rig dudes, right? Like when you're out on location, you're going like left and right? You're backing shit up. You're like thinking left, right? Like if you got your fucking little curling sticky poo down there and I know what rock I'm hitting, I don't need you to in-turn, out-turn me. Just fucking which way do you want me to spin it? Just put the hand down. Like what are we doing? In-turn, out-turn. You got 6 different team games going on. Everybody yelling across. I don't need you to yell in-turn, out-turn bullshit at me. Just fucking left or right me. Like I can tell. Put the broom. I'm not gonna throw it fucking to the opposite direction. So just like, what are we doing, curling? Like, I get it because like
in-turn, out-turn would be different if you were left-handed or right-handed.
Well, no. So in-turn, out-turn. That's why they do that is because if you're left-handed, it's on. But no matter what, left-handed or right-handed, the dude standing at the end, if the broom's pointing and his hand is up, it doesn't matter what fucking hand you are. You're spinning it that direction.
Yeah.
So like. What are they like? Why are they overcomplicating it? Why are they trying to seem smarter than they need to smart? Because it makes sense why they do it, but you don't need to. You can literally just put your fucking hand up. Like if you know what rock you're aiming for, which side of it is it on the broom? It's fucking simple. What are we doing?
Love it, man. Love it. Make curling simpler. We're gonna get some shirts made. We're gonna get some shirts made. I don't know what they're gonna say. They're gonna say something about
we do need
curling.
something like with a guy pointing, and we'll figure it out. We need to come up with our own design.
Love it, dude. Hey, great show, man. Fun times. Congrats to Ovi. Congrats to the Oilmen that won the championship. That got some money out of it, and Josh Emmett, man, you're still a legend.
Absolutely, man. It was a great fight, and stoked to. Oh, it puts you down at the bottom, but so
all right, that's where I want to be.
To witness that. I hope he sticks around. Hope he gets a few more. But no matter what, One Punch Card, some of the best breaks in the game. So check that out.
Yeah, I need to follow him. I'm not following him. Josh Emmett, I'm sorry. I'll follow you.
Yeah, you get on that. You get on that, baby. And then everybody who's been watching the Bushleague Sports Show, thank you for tuning in. Episode 56. I'm gonna hop over into Whatnot for a tiny little bit, rip some cards. So if you follow the link down in that QR code, streaming around our little AccuTar. Shouts to Mika too. Got to chat with Mika this morning. Accu, learn about everything they're doing. They got some big partnerships, some big cool things coming out, and an Accu novel coming out later in the year too. So you got to stay tuned to AccuTars. I'm telling you, if you aren't holding an AccuTar token, you're fucking sleeping. You got to get on that. But come over to Whatnot. We'll get you dialed in, and it's a good one. We'll catch you next week. Trav, or Sleepy, we'll get deep dive onto everything we're doing with the NHL playoffs, and hopefully we can give our predictions. We'll get a bracket going. I think I think we'll set up a bracket. I think if I can next week, I'm going to try to set up a bracket, and maybe if people want to enter, maybe I can set up something. Actually, let's do it. I'm going to set up a bracket next week through Whatnot. I'm going to set it up, a little hockey draft and bracket. You enter, we'll rip some cards, but I'm going to set that up. That'll be pretty easy. And if anybody wants to join, I'll line that up through my Discord or whatever. And either way, me and you, I know a couple friends that will join it for sure, but we'll just do a pick 'em bracket where you try to pick which team will win and in how many games. We'll set one up on NHL.com.
Let's do it. Can't wait, man.
Love it. Well, brother, as always, I appreciate spending the Sunday night with you. It's been a good one. And we'll do her again next week. We'll get deep dive in the playoffs.
Yes, sir. Catch you on Whatnot, man.
Awesome. Yeah, we'll see you over there. Hop in Whatnot, episode 56. It's been a good one. Catch you next week, you beauties. We'll get going, see how many goals Ovi ends the season with, and deep dive into who we think's taking home the Stanley Cup. If the Red Wings make the playoffs, it's for sure them, but we'll see.
Probably not.
From the bottom, ain't no half-stepping. I'm the dog, I made it through so they don't ask questions. Long Beach, and it ain't no half-repping. Once a dog, always a dog, so they don't ask questions. From the bottom, ain't no half-stepping. I'm the dog, I made it through so they don't ask questions. Long Beach, and it ain't no half-repping. Once a dog, always a dog, so they don't ask questions. Tell them never question, dog, I'm sitting goat status. Eating chicken with my gin, smoking on some cabbage. Just to pedal on this
moment where you skate down the street and some shit for brains yells out of his window, "Do a kickflip! Do a kickflip! Do a kickflip!"
And house shoes, they know how the dog do. Skinny, heavy pockets, the West OG. Came across the globe, say they don't